I'm going to share with you today 5 different tips that's going to help you become a better Uplander. Now, it doesn't matter that if you've been playing this for a little while or if you're brand new. Either way, just learning something that, you might get a little tip out of this, especially when you're starting out, when you're buying new property, when you're renting in new cities and stuff like that. So I know what I'm going to share with you is going to be a big help for you. Now, the 5 tips I'm going to talk about today is going to be navigating your block explorer. So that's the first thing that people always ask is, how do I move my player around? How do I get to different places? I'm going to show you the best way to move your block explorer, which is your profile, your avatar. The next thing we're going to talk about is your property outline. Now, it's important to understand how to when and how to turn this on, so that way if you're looking for certain collections in certain areas, or if you just want to know where a certain county or city is at. The third tip that we're going to talk about is the minting trail. Now, this is really important, and I didn't really get this at first because when I was first buying properties, I was buying FSA properties, so I kind of sent myself where I would send myself to a property, and then from that point I would just go ahead and buy it right next to me, so I didn't really have a trail. The next thing we're going to talk about is the buying floor. So I'm going to show you how to use your property outline, how to figure out the buying floor, so that way you can make sure you're doing sound purchases when you're buying stuff. And the last thing we're going to talk about is your first collection. So just making sure that when you first buy your property, you put it in your collection, and then I'm going to show you what you should do once you have that in there, if you already bought a couple more properties, and we're going to tell you the best way to do that. So let's talk about navigating your block explorer. So block explorer, again, this your avatar is your profile. That's the guy that's moving around the block, and that's what you're going to be doing. So you're going to get what's called sends, and I'm going to switch the screen here in just a second, but I want to read this out to you first. So you can transfer your block explorer anywhere to any minted property on the map. So you can go anywhere as long as it's minted. If it's unminted, you can't send yourself there. So what we mean by minted means that someone's purchased it from Upland. So if the property is green or if it's blue, it means that someone purchased it already and you can send yourself to that location. If it's gray, it means it's unminted. It means no one's ever been there, so you can't send yourself there. And that's the point where you're moving your block explorer, which is going to actually create a discovery area. So once you get a discover area and you buy that, that's when people can start sending themselves to it. If you own it or somebody else discovered it and bought it, and they can send themselves there. So what it's going to cost you when you do this, when sending yourself, we talk about moving around the location on the map, it's going to cost you a visit fee. So the visit fee is depending on whatever that person wants to charge you, and that can be anywhere from 20 UPIX to 100 UPIX. So at this point right now, there's a challenge going on, so that we want to have a lot of, this challenge is something where the most amount of visitors to your property, you win a certain amount of UPIX or whatever. So I actually transferred and made all my UPIX or my properties down to 5. So you can charge anywhere from 20 to 100. I put mine to 5 because of the fact that I want to have as low as possible to get as many people to my properties that I can. Now, the next thing is called the sends. So you can send yourself a maximum up to, you have 3 of them per day. You get 3 sends per day, but you can get up to 11 sends at one time. So if you're going around, I'm going to show you this, I'm going to give you exact examples of how this works too. So every 24 hours, you're going to get 3 sends. Now, that's really important because the second day that I played this game, I traveled and I used one of my sends, took me to the airport, to the train station. Then I took the train station to the airport, flew to another, to San Francisco. And when I got to San Francisco, I ran out of sends. It means I can't move my location, my Explorer anywhere. And what stinks about it is when I was on that location, especially in San Francisco, my block Explorer wasn't moving anywhere so that I can actually go to another property or buy a property or even find any more sends. So I got stuck there, so I had to wait for 24 hours for it to recharge. And once I did that, I did some research, found out a little bit more. I talked to some players on Discord and found out the best way of doing it. So that made a big difference. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is jump over to the screen here and give you... All right, so now I'm actually in the gameplay. So what I'm going to do here is click on this little bottom icon, which is the chess icon. That's going to navigate me to my player, which is my block explorer. So there I go in the middle. And if you notice on the right-hand side, you see this little airplane? These are the sends that I'm referring to. So if I want to go ahead and grab this send, I would go ahead and click to a property that's next to it, which this case here, you see how it says 5 UPIX? So this person had this many people. So if I click on this little button here, it's going to show you how many people visit this person's property. So, he made 5, 10, 15, 20. So he made, this is how much UPIX he made just for people traveling to his location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send myself there, and it's going to cost me 5 UPIX to get there. And right now you see it says I have 8 sends left. Well, you can have a maximum of 11 at one time, and it depends on what city you're in. I'm in a tier 2 city, which is, I think Cleveland is a tier 2, and I can have up to 40 in a day that I can grab, I believe. So like if I get down to like 1 or 2 of these left, I can keep on finding more sends up to 40 in that day. But the maximum at one time that I can hold is 11. So hopefully this makes sense. So right now I have 8 left. I'm gonna confirm. I'm gonna send myself to it. So now you see my block explorer is navigating, and while I was moving there, I actually scrolled my mouse down to get a little closer. But what you want to do at this time here, if you want to go ahead and click this little button here, it centers it and puts it in the middle. So right now you see that the paper airplane's right there. So if I click on this airplane, let me go ahead and scroll down. If I click on this airplane, it gets 2. So now I have technically 10 sends. So if I want to go ahead and move myself to this one here, this guy's charging 25, so I don't want to spend 25 UPX to go there. I want to go ahead and click on this one. So this is 5. So if I hit send, but I'm not going to send myself there yet. You're going to see how many I have left. See, it says 9. Because I had 8, I grabbed 2, so that was 10. If I spend 1, I got 9 left. So that's how that works. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it again. So sometimes you'll end up, some of these paper airplanes will give you 1, 2, 3, or 4. I actually found an airplane that gave me 6 sends at one time. So there you go, click on this. So I got 1 cent at it. So I still got 9, so it cost me 5 UPX to do that. Now, when you're doing a search for UPX, and for your sends, what I would tell you to do is find a location that's really populated, like something like this. You see how there's a lot of properties? It makes it a lot easier to see a bunch of them. So like if I was going to an area where it's like big, like say for instance, let me go up somewhere closer here to the top, where the properties isn't that big. So I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see the property. There's no property there. So then I have to turn on my property. This is the next thing I was talking about, turning on the property line right here. So when I turn this property line, I know what part of Cleveland is still there. So I was way too far. So there's no property over there because I went too far. So it's over here. This is what we're referring to. So I'm going to scroll down. And this is still kind of tight niched, so there's still a lot of property here. But if you see something like this, you see how there's a lot of wide spaces, you're not going to get a lot of opportunity to see a lot of airplanes like until you get somewhere here where there's a bunch more smaller ones. So like this here, let's go ahead and send myself to this guy. Let's see how much it's going to cost me. That's 5 UPX. That's okay. I'll send myself there. 9 UPX. Then I should, hopefully I get another one, so I'll have back 9 again. So while it's going there, it does this by itself. I can go ahead and zoom in, click on it. So I got 1 send. So back to normal. But what I was saying again, if you're searching for it, I would say zoom this in till you get enough so you can barely start seeing the properties, and go somewhere where it's really like populated. Like see right here, there's a bunch of properties in here. So your chances are having paper airplanes in this area is going to be a lot more. So that's how you do the navigation. Now I'm going to go ahead and scroll over to the next section. So now that you know how to do navigation, let's talk about the property outline. So the property outline is really important too. And when it comes to the property outline, that's what I was kind of showing you earlier. I was giving you an example of this section here where you can click on the little button on the right hand side. It showed you where I was in Cleveland. So let me go ahead and click on this here and go back to, all right, go back to the property. All right, so we should be back here. And the property outline is what I was referring to by clicking this little button here. On the right-hand side is the little pin, little push pin. So what I'm gonna do is navigate a little further out. You can see the outline of the area. So you see, for instance, like if I click in here, scroll down, this is Central Avenue. So this is Central Cleveland. This is Fairfax, Woodland Hills. If I unclick it, then now this is all gone. Now, why this makes a big difference is for a couple different things, and this is what I was telling you earlier, depending on what you're trying to do at certain times. So like, for instance, if there's a collection available, so let's click on here, it says collections, and it's going to say, okay, so the collection is going to be Glenville. So if I need to find Glenville, there's a couple things I can do. I click the edit collection here, click on other properties. It's going to show me other people. So if I click on 1045 East 97th, it takes me there. So I know I have an idea where this location is, so I saw it right there. So I'm gonna get out of this. So it says like, if this is, look for Glenville, okay, here's Glenville. So I was just looking down too far. So this is Glenville. So any properties in Glenville, you see it right here in the middle. My whole time I was talking to you, I was actually looking down here for some reason. But there you go, I have 2 properties in Glenville. So that kind of shows you, I got 3 properties in Glenville. So if I hit collections, you're gonna see here, I have 3 of them in there in that area. So if I click here, you'll see the 3 properties that I have. If I bought any more properties in that area, it would also show up on here, and it would give me the option to select that one if there was, like, say if there was 4 of them that I needed. So if I unselect this here, it's going to take this out and get rid of my bonus. So right now I'm not going to get that active bonus. So what I would do is hit edit collection and just say, okay, well, you have another property that's available, so do you want to use this one? I click yes, or I click this button. So now it's active. So what this is going to do is going to give me the extra 1.3 bonus of my my returns, my earnings, my UPX earnings. All right, so there we go. And now let's go ahead and go to the next strategy here. The next strategy is the minting trail. So this is what I was referring to earlier when I said the minting trail. That's going to be, you know, this section here where we talk about when you're moving your block explorer, it has like a little slug trail. That's what I would like to call it. So we call this little slug trail the minting trail. Now, I don't have any new properties here that I can purchase at this time. So what I'm going to do is going to show you instead just the little trail itself of the actual player. So let's go ahead and scroll to this one here. All right, so let me go and show you my block explorer. All right, and what I want to do is I'm going to put them to another location. You see a little trail there, but I want to just go a little closer. I'm going to go to my other property, and let's go to 4212. Let's click here. And I want to show you this. So you see the little black line that it creates. So right now your block explorer wanders in any direction that it wants to. So the reason why this is important is because you see how he's starting to navigate. He's going upwards. He's going towards, you know, top left. Well, what this does here is going to leave this little trail. So you see all these properties that's in this area here, all the way, like right now it's going towards this airplane, which is kind of cool. But let's say, for instance, these are unminted properties, like properties that I never bought before, no one's bought before. Well, if that's the case, I can't buy that property unless my explorer goes in that direction and discovers it. So what you're going to notice here is there's going to be a little dark line in the back of your block explorer. And what happens with that line, it'll fade away. It'll get a certain distance and it'll start fading away. However, say for instance, if all these properties here that were never purchased before, that no one had them, or if they were available and I could buy them right now, what's going to happen? I got to wait a little bit longer. Oh, there you go. If I scroll down a little further, you'll start seeing. You see how it's a little faded away right here? Well, what this means here is this is my trail. So now if all these were gray and if they were never purchased before, once I get my block explorer in the area, these all start lighting up light green. It means I can purchase them. But the cool thing about it is I can also go back to anything that's behind it. As long as it's still, the trail is still available, like once it starts dying away, then I can't buy it. So like, let's say for instance, if I scroll this up further, let's say if my block explorer goes all the way to this paper airplane. Well, that means now the line in the back might be around here now. So it might be from here to here. So it faded away. So that means any of the properties that I may have discovered earlier, I don't have access to them anymore. But as long as this line's available, so anywhere if it goes from here to say like from this FSA property to this one right here, if it's all that, if it's still got a little black line, that means I discovered all the properties in the area. So if I want to, I can go back and buy it. Now, why did I bring this up? Because I'll tell you, when I went to Alameda, and I'm going to show you, this is what I did when I very first started the new city, and this is really important here. So I'm going to go to California, and I'll show you, because they'll tell you when a new city comes out, you want to be in the area surrounding, like a new area around that area. So let's go here, Alameda, Berkeley. So you see I got one property here. I had another property down there I bought as well. But this is what I did. So when we first got started, none of this was open. So I was able to place my block explorer around this area up top here, around this area. And what I did was I actually did it a few times until I knew that my block explorer was going down in this direction. So once I saw this started going down this direction, then what that meant is like this, my block explorer was just floating. So now let's say for instance here, all these properties weren't, like if they were all unminted. Well, my block explorer would float all the way down here. That means as soon as this town was open, I can go back and start buying this, buy this, and I could buy all the properties that I wanted to as long as I discovered them. Now, because I didn't do that, I wasn't able to get there all the way in time. As soon as I saw somebody bought a property down here, I clicked on theirs, and sent myself to it. But the problem is when I did that, immediately they started buying all the property around me. So it was kind of difficult. It was kind of hard to do it, but I found one. I ended up getting it. So that's how you do that portion of it. Now we're going to go to the next section, which is buying on the floor prices. So that's what we're talking about here. I'm just going to bring this up here so you know what we're talking about. We're talking about buying on the floor. So the buying on the floor is really cool. The reason why is because you want to buy and get it as low as possible, and you want to sell it as high as possible. So let's go ahead and go back. So I'm going to hit this little chess piece. It's going to navigate me, take me all the way back from California to where I'm at. So if now we're back here. You see my little slug shell that I was referring to? So that means that all this property here, if it was undiscovered, I can actually get it. But now we're talking about the buying property. So this is where we talk about this little button here. When I was referring to it earlier, this little icon. Well, this kind of shows you certain properties, but what I want to show you right below that is your property outline with this button, the second one. So you see it says properties nearby. So right now it shows you 109 properties. So if I'm selling my property here, let's say for instance, go to mine, down this one. If I'm trying to sell this property here, I kind of want to have an estimate of what people are selling their properties around me. So I want to get a floor price. Well, if I hit this little button now, it's going to only show you, see how it says 5 properties? Because there's only 5 properties for sale that's in this immediate scene that my screen can see. But now if I zoom out further and click this button again, now you're going to see it has 43 properties, because that means there's 43 properties in this area. If I scroll a little further, that's a lot further. Now you can see there's 108 properties for sale. So this kind of gives you an idea of the floor prices. And also, if you're on your phone and you're doing this, and if you ever see the price where it says available on the web, it means they're probably selling it for USD cash, and you have to go online. You have to use your web browser like I'm doing right now to see it. So that's really important. So if you want to know the floor price, so what I would do is like in this section right here, I would probably go about this big, click on the properties, and see right now 12,500 is the UPIX. So if I were to sell my property, I would probably go ahead and sell like this one here. I can't do it right now because I only have 2 per week you can sell. So I would probably sell for $12,499 just to move the property. And nope, I've reached my max for this week. But that's how I would do it. That's how it comes to buying property. So, and let's go to the next strategy, which is your first collection. And this is the last one here. So let's go to the first collection. Go back to my screen here. All right, so collections. So now, the very first collection I'm talking about, let's say, is your newbie. It means the very first property. Like, I don't even know why I took mine off. And the reason why it's not active, I can tell you why, because I sold my very first property. So what you want to do is, like, I got to go back in here. So I click on this one. Anyone that you see all these properties here, this would be, I could just go ahead and choose this one. So this would be a newbie standard collection. So now I'm going to get the bonus on it. Now, the thing about this property here, and you also got to make sure you're in the right city. So right here, you click this little button. This is Ohio. So the thing about this newbie, you see how I'm getting a 1.1? What I would do is make sure that if I'm going to do a property that, you know, if I only bought 1 property, or if I bought 2 or 3, well, I'm going to go in here, find out which one of my properties. I'm going to click out of this, click on the properties here. And I'm going to find out which one of my properties gives me the most earnings per month or whatever. So if I know that this is my highest earning property, well, instead of me putting this as my newbie that only gives me 58, I'd rather do it. I didn't mean to do that one. I'd rather do it on this one, but this is a different city. So I'd find out whatever one I have in this city here, or actually because it's a newbie, it doesn't matter which area you choose. So like right now, because this was on sale, this might be the one I would put it on. So Madison County or Madison Street. So what I'm going to do here, go to my collection. But it'll turn off again if I sell that property. But I'm going to go in here and edit collection. I'm going to uncheck that. And I'm going to try to see if I can find the Madison one. There we go. All right, so I'm getting my unearned collection, so that's cool. All right, so now that I have that there, so now this property is going to give me 1.1 boost on top of what I'm already getting. So that's what I was going to tell you to do. So once you actually get your property, be sure to put your collection on the one that's going to give you the most bang for your buck, and just go from that way. So if you're the king of the street, if you bought a new property, like if you get a new collection of 3 properties in another location that gets you more rent, change them out and put them on there as soon as you can. The more boost you can get, the better it is for you. So I know this is a little bit long, but again, this is going to help you out in the long run with all the little tips I've given you. And if you like this kind of stuff, be sure to click the subscribe, because I want to have people come in and we just do some live chats during the week. I'm going to start doing some actually calls with other people, find out their strategies. And I love to build a community of people that like this kind of stuff where you can actually play and earn and have fun. Again, and one thing I do want to stress right now is I do have a strategy video that's out. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that one, please do. It'll be linked. I'll probably put it below, or it'll be a card up here. So make sure you follow that one. It's strategies for Upland, because you see what I'm doing, and it'll definitely help you out. Think about the way ways you can start this game and enjoy it the best you can too. All right, I'll see you in the next video.